The Cold War was not a war fought with marching armies and grand battles between the superpowers. Instead, it was a tense, decades-long standoff between the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the communist East, led by the Soviet Union. This period stretched from the end of World War II in 1945 to the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. It was defined by proxy wars, an arms race, and a relentless technological competition. Both sides feared nuclear annihilation, mutually assured destruction. That fear drove an unprecedented surge in military development, each bloc racing for a technological edge. Nowhere was the competition more apparent than in the skies. Aviation technology exploded. Jets became standard. Engineers on both sides pushed boundaries, chasing ever greater speeds, higher altitudes, and more sophisticated capabilities. The need for intelligence gathering, rapid interception, and the ability to deliver nuclear payloads anywhere on the globe spurred the creation of some of the most iconic and revolutionary aircraft. These were not just machines of war, they were symbols of national power. The pressure to innovate was immense. Breakthroughs triggered frantic responses. If the Soviets built a high-speed bomber, the Americans built interceptors. If the Americans fielded a near-space spy plane, the Soviets developed surface-to-air missiles. This back-and-forth produced aircraft once thought science fiction. They became critical tools in the global chess match, shaping conflicts in Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East. Ultimately, the Cold War was a crucible for aviation, forging a new generation of aircraft that changed warfare and reconnaissance. The planes were not incremental improvements. They were quantum leaps. They introduced supersonic flight as standard, stealth technology, and high-altitude surveillance. Their legacy extends beyond their service lives. They set the technological foundations for aircraft that fly today and stand as a testament to a time when the sky was the ultimate frontier in a global struggle for supremacy. In the early 1950s, the United States faced a critical intelligence gap. The Soviet Union was a closed society, a black box. President Dwight D. Eisenhower desperately needed to know what was happening behind the Iron Curtain. He needed to understand the true extent of the Soviet bomber threat and missile threat. Conventional spy planes were too slow and they flew too low, easy targets for Soviet air defenses. The solution came from Clarence Kelly Johnson at Lockheed's secretive Skunk Works. Johnson proposed a radical new aircraft, a lightweight, glider-like jet. It was capable of flying at unprecedented altitudes, far above the reach of Soviet fighters and missiles. The Central Intelligence Agency, under Allen Dulles, saw the potential and awarded Lockheed a secret contract in 1954. The program was codenamed Project Aquatone. The result? The U-2, the Dragon Lady. A minimalist masterpiece, a jet engine on enormous high-aspect ratio wings. Wings that spanned over 80 feet. This let it soar above 70,000 feet into a sky that turns dark violet. At that height, the pilot wore a full pressure suit like an astronaut. The U-2's primary mission, photographic reconnaissance. Its powerful cameras captured high-resolution images from that incredible vantage. A single mission could photograph hundreds of thousands of square miles, revealing Soviet military bases, airfields, and nuclear facilities. The U-2 began covert missions over the USSR in 1956. The intelligence was invaluable. It showed the bomber gap did not exist, and the missile gap was smaller than feared. The U-2's invincibility ended on May 1, 1960. Francis Gary Powers' U-2 was shot down over the USSR by a new SA-2 guideline surface-to-air missile. The incident sparked an international crisis and embarrassed the US. Yet the U-2's career continued. In 1962, it provided photos that proved Soviet missiles in Cuba to President Kennedy. Updated U-2S remain in USAF service today, proof of its enduring design. While the Americans were focused on high-altitude reconnaissance, the Soviet Union was perfecting the art of the high-speed interceptor. Their answer to the threat of Western bombers was the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-21. First flown in 1955, designed to be simple, lightweight, mass-produced supersonic fighter. The Soviet Air Force needed a jet that could scramble quickly, climb rapidly to altitude, and shoot down incoming enemy aircraft with ruthless efficiency. Distinctive delta wing, pencil-thin fuselage. Built for that purpose, Cheap to build, easy to maintain, a formidable opponent in the sky. NATO reporting name, Fishbed, a product of Soviet design philosophy favoring quantity and rugged simplicity over complex technology. Powered by a single Tumansky turbojet engine, capable of speeds over Mach 2. Delta Wing gave excellent performance at high speeds and altitudes, but it was less maneuverable in a low-speed dogfight, armed with cannons and air-to-air missiles. A pure fighter. A point defense interceptor protecting an area. The MiG-21 truly made its mark during the Vietnam War. North Vietnamese pilots flying the small, agile MiG-21 in combat. A deadly threat to American pilots in larger, more complex F-4 Phantoms. Its small size made it hard to spot, and its maneuverability let it get into firing positions quickly. American pilots, initially complacent, soon developed respect. Those encounters led to the creation of the U.S. Navy's Top Gun School to teach tactics to defeat the MiG-21. The MiG-21's influence extends far beyond Vietnam. It became the most produced supersonic jet with over 11,000 built, exported to more than 60 countries. Arab-Israeli wars, conflicts in Africa, conflicts in Asia. The MiG-21 embodies the Soviet approach, rugged, reliable, and effective. Produced in vast numbers. For decades, the MiG-21 silhouette symbolized Soviet air power, a constant challenge to Western air supremacy across the globe. The dawn of the nuclear age demanded a new kind of bomber. The United States needed an aircraft that could fly intercontinental distances deep into the heart of the Soviet Union and deliver a devastating nuclear payload. In 1946, the U.S. Army Air Forces issued a contract to Boeing. The design evolved from a straight-wing turboprop to a swept-wing jet. The result was the B-52 Stratofortress. First flown in 1952, this colossal 8-engine bomber became the backbone of Strategic Air Command. The sheer scale is breathtaking. Wingspan, 185 feet length, over 159 feet. Its 8 Pratt and Whitney J57 turbojets gave it an unrefueled range of over 8,800 miles, letting it reach targets almost anywhere from U.S. bases. Primary mission? Nuclear deterrence. A fleet kept on constant high alert, some B-52s airborne 24/7 during Operation Chrome Dome. Ready to retaliate at a moment's notice, America's ultimate insurance policy. Designed for nuclear war, but its most famous role came in Vietnam. Massive payload capacity, up to 70,000 pounds of bombs. During Linebacker II in 1972, waves of B-52s flew Arc Light missions, carpeting vast areas of North Vietnam. The psychological impact was immense. The B-52 proved remarkably adaptable, shifting from high-altitude nuclear strikes to low-altitude conventional bombing. The most incredible fact? Longevity. Designed in the late 1940s and still critical today. Projected to remain in service into the 2050s, nearly a century of service. Continually upgraded with new engines, avionics, and weapons systems. It can carry everything from conventional bombs to modern precision-guided cruise missiles. The B-52 is more than a plane, an institution, an enduring symbol of American air power that outlasted the Cold War and the nation it was built to deter. If one aircraft could be called the definitive Western fighter of the Cold War, it would be the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II, showing the F-4 ASS bent wings and downward-angled tailplanes. Originally designed in the 1950s for the U.S. Navy as a fleet defense interceptor. The F-4 was a brute of an aircraft. It was big, powerful, incredibly versatile. The U.S. Air Force and Marine Corps quickly saw its potential and adopted it as well. The Phantom was not a nimble dogfighter like the MiG-21. It was a powerful twin-engine beast, built around a powerful radar and a massive payload of missiles. It represented the prevailing belief that guns were obsolete and that future air combat would be fought at long range with guided missiles. The F-4 was a record breaker from the start, setting numerous speed and altitude records shortly after its introduction in 1960. Powered by 2 formidable General Electric J79 engines, it could exceed Mach 2.2. Its most defining feature was its ability to carry a staggering amount of ordnance, up to 18,000 pounds, bombs, missiles, rockets on 9 external hardpoints. This made it a true multi-role aircraft. In a single mission, an F-4 could perform air-to-air combat, ground attack, and reconnaissance. It earned nicknames like the workhorse of the free world and the world's leading distributor of MiG parts. The F-4 Phantom's trial by fire came in the skies over Vietnam. It became the primary fighter and attack aircraft for the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marines during the war. Early combat experiences revealed a major flaw: the lack of an internal cannon. Missile technology was not yet reliable, and American pilots often found themselves in close-quarters dogfights with North Vietnamese MiGs, unable to fire a shot. This lesson was quickly learned, and later versions of the F-4 were fitted with a 20mm Vulcan cannon. The Phantom went on to score more aerial victories than any other American jet in the conflict. The Phantom's service extended far beyond the U.S. military. At the absolute pinnacle of Cold War aviation technology flies the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird. If the U-2 was a high-altitude spy, the SR-71 was a high-speed Phantom. Following the downing of Francis Gary Powers' U-2 in 1960, it became clear that altitude alone was no longer a guarantee of safety. The United States needed a reconnaissance aircraft that was not just high-flying, but also so fast that nothing could catch it. Once again, the task fell to Kelly Johnson and his Skunk Works team. Their creation, commissioned by the CIA and the U.S. Air Force, was an aircraft that looked and performed like something from another world. The SR-71 was designed for one thing: speed. It was built largely from titanium to withstand the extreme temperatures generated by air friction at high speeds. Its two massive Pratt & Whitney J58 engines were a revolutionary hybrid design, acting as turbojets at lower speeds and transforming into ramjets at high altitude. This allowed the Blackbird to cruise comfortably at speeds exceeding Mach 3.3, more than 2,200 miles per hour, at altitudes above 85,000 feet. At that speed, it could cross the continental United States in just over an hour. If a surface-to-air missile was launched at it, the standard evasive procedure was simple. The pilot would just accelerate and outrun it. The Blackbird's operational history is the stuff of legend. From its first operational flight in 1966, the SR-71 conducted strategic reconnaissance missions over some of the most heavily defended areas on the planet: North Vietnam, North Korea, the borders of the Soviet Union. It flew with complete impunity. Over its entire service career, more than 4,000 missiles were fired at SR-71S. Not a single one ever hit its target, and not a single Blackbird was ever lost to enemy fire. The intelligence it gathered by photographing and electronically monitoring hostile territory was strategically vital to U.S. decision-makers throughout the latter half of the Cold War. Ultimately, the SR-71 Blackbird represents the zenith of Cold War aircraft design. It was a machine built to do the impossible, pushing the boundaries of speed, altitude, and material science to their absolute limits. Its operational costs and the advent of sophisticated spy satellites eventually led to its retirement in the 1990s. Yet, no aircraft before or since has matched its sustained speed and altitude performance. The SR-71 remains the fastest air-breathing piloted jet ever built, a black-clad monument to human ingenuity and a stark reminder of a time when the need to know drove engineers to build a machine that could outfly anything on Earth.